The Netherlands, land of windmills, tulips, and a massive government scandal? You bet. It's not exactly the image that comes to mind, but it's true. We're diving deep into the Dutch childcare benefits scandal, a story of good intentions gone terribly wrong. Imagine a system designed to help families with childcare costs. Sounds great, right? In the Netherlands, this system was pretty generous, allowing parents to work while knowing their kids were taken care of. It was the kind of support system that made people feel good about their government. But here's where things take a dark turn. This system, designed to alleviate stress, ended up causing unimaginable hardship for thousands of families. How? Well, that's where the story gets complicated. Buckle up, because we're about to unravel a tale of bureaucratic nightmares, accusations of discrimination, and a government's struggle to right its wrongs. It's a story that shines a light on the human cost of government failures and the importance of accountability. Imagine this. You're a parent in the Netherlands, relying on government support for childcare. You're just trying to make ends meet, raise your kids, and contribute to society. Suddenly, you're hit with a letter from the tax office. It claims you owe tens of thousands of euros in benefits you supposedly received fraudulently. Panic sets in. You know you didn't do anything wrong, but the government is demanding repayment. This is the nightmare that thousands of families found themselves in, caught in the crosshairs of the Dutch childcare benefits scandal. What started as a system meant to empower families had transformed into a monster, wrongly accusing innocent people of fraud. Many families already struggling financially were pushed into poverty, forced to repay money they never owed. Their lives were turned upside down, their trust in the government shattered. But how did a system designed to help families become a tool of financial devastation? To understand that, we need to dig into the root causes of this scandal, a tangled web of political pressure, flawed algorithms, and systemic discrimination. To understand how a well-intentioned system went so wrong, we need to rewind the clock back to the early 2010s. The Netherlands, like many countries, was recovering from the global financial crisis. Austerity measures were all the rage, with governments looking to cut costs wherever possible. In the Netherlands, this meant taking a hard look at social programs, including the generous childcare benefits system. The political climate shifted, and suddenly, the focus was on shrinking the welfare state, not expanding it. The Dutch government, under pressure to reduce spending, started looking for ways to streamline the childcare benefits system. What they didn't realize, or perhaps chose to ignore, was that even the smallest changes to a complex system can have disastrous consequences. In their zeal to save money, they inadvertently created the perfect storm for a massive scandal. The stage was set for a clash between good intentions and the harsh realities of a system designed to catch fraud, even if it meant sacrificing innocent families in the process. In an effort to make the system more efficient, the Dutch government turned to technology. They implemented a new automated system designed to detect and prevent fraud in childcare benefit applications. Sounds reasonable, right? After all, no one wants their tax dollars going to waste. The problem? This system relied heavily on algorithms, complex mathematical formulas that processed vast amounts of data to identify potential cases of fraud. While algorithms can be powerful tools, they are only as good as the data they are fed and the people who interpret their results. In this case, the algorithm was designed to be incredibly sensitive, flagging even the smallest discrepancies as potential fraud. A missing signature, a minor error in an application, even a slight delay in providing documentation, all of these could trigger an investigation. What's worse, the system lacked human oversight. Instead of having trained professionals review the algorithm's findings, decisions were often made automatically, with little to no room for individual circumstances or appeals. As the automated system churned through thousands of applications, a disturbing pattern emerged. It became clear that the algorithm was not applied equally across the board. Instead, it disproportionately targeted certain groups, particularly families with immigrant backgrounds, dual nationals, and those receiving additional financial assistance. These families, already facing systemic barriers, were more likely to be flagged for minor infractions, their applications subjected to intense scrutiny. The algorithm, designed to be objective, was replicating and amplifying existing biases within the system. It was a classic case of garbage in, garbage out. If the data used to train the algorithm is biased, the algorithm's output will be biased as well. The result? Thousands of families, often from marginalized communities, were wrongly accused of fraud. They were subjected to aggressive investigations, forced to repay enormous sums of money, and denied access to vital support systems. The system, meant to protect and support families, had become a weapon against them. Imagine receiving a letter from the tax office, a letter that sends chills down your spine. It accuses you of fraud, demanding repayment of benefits you supposedly received illegally. This is the Kafkaesque reality that thousands of families faced as the Dutch childcare benefits scandal unfolded. Trapped in a bureaucratic nightmare, they found themselves up against a system that seemed determined to punish them. Families were buried under mountains of paperwork, forced to provide endless documentation. Many families, already struggling financially, couldn't afford legal representation. They pursued families relentlessly, often resorting to intimidation tactics and threats of legal action. The impact of the childcare benefits scandal was devastating, leaving deep scars on the lives of thousands of families. Many, wrongly accused of fraud, were forced to repay enormous sums of money, often tens of thousands of euros. This plunged families into financial ruin, forcing them to sell their homes, deplete their savings, and rely on food banks to survive. The stress was unbearable, leading to job losses, relationship breakdowns, and severe mental health issues. Parents, once proud and independent, were reduced to begging for help, their dignity stripped away by a system that had branded them as criminals. Children, caught in the crossfire, suffered too. They witnessed their parents' struggles, their sense of security shattered by the constant fear of eviction and poverty. The scandal had a ripple effect, eroding trust in the government and creating a climate of fear and suspicion, particularly among immigrant communities. The Dutch government, initially slow to acknowledge the scale of the problem, faced mounting pressure to act. Whistleblowers within the tax office bravely spoke out, revealing the systemic flaws and discriminatory practices that had fueled the scandal. Journalists, lawyers, and activists joined the fight, shining a light on the plight of affected families and demanding accountability. Section 3 whispers turn to outrage, the scandal breaks. For years, the plight of these families remained largely hidden from public view. They suffered in silence, their stories dismissed as isolated incidents. But the truth has a way of bubbling to the surface. Slowly but surely, whispers of the scandal began to spread. Journalists, digging into cases of alleged fraud, started to notice a disturbing pattern. The families caught in the tax office's dragnet shared striking similarities. They were often immigrants, dual nationals, or from marginalized communities. As more families came forward sharing their stories of injustice, the media took notice. Investigative reports exposed the failings of the automated system, highlighting its inherent biases and devastating consequences. Public outrage grew as the true scale of the scandal became clear. Tens of thousands of families wrongly accused, their lives shattered by a system designed to protect them. The Dutch government, initially dismissive of the allegations, found itself facing a public relations nightmare. Protests erupted across the country, with families demanding justice and accountability. Politicians, once eager to champion the efficiency of the automated system, now scrambled to distance themselves from the scandal. The pressure to act became too great to ignore. Section 4. A nation's shame, reckoning, and reparations begin. The Dutch childcare benefits scandal sent shockwaves through the Netherlands, shaking the very foundations of its self-image as a just and equitable society. Faced with overwhelming evidence of systemic failure and widespread suffering, the government had no choice but to act. A parliamentary inquiry was launched, tasked with uncovering the truth behind the scandal and holding those responsible to account. The inquiry's findings were damning. They revealed a litany of errors, from the initial design of the automated system to the callous disregard for due process within the tax office. The report concluded that the government had failed in its duty of care, systematically violating the rights of its citizens. The scandal led to a dramatic shift in the political landscape. The government, facing a vote of no confidence, was forced to resign. A new administration, vowing to right the wrongs of the past, took over. promising swift action and meaningful reparations for the victims. The road to justice would be long and arduous, but for the families torn apart by the scandal, there was finally a glimmer of hope. Section 1. A long road to justice, navigating the aftermath. Acknowledging the gravity of the situation, the new Dutch government faced the daunting task of righting the wrongs of the past. Their first order of business? Offering a formal apology to the thousands of families affected by the scandal. This wasn't just a matter of saving face, it was about acknowledging the immense suffering caused by the government's actions and taking the first step towards rebuilding trust. But apologies, however sincere, couldn't erase the pain and hardship endured by these families. The government knew that concrete action was needed. They established a compensation scheme, promising to repay the wrongly claimed benefits and provide financial support to help families get back on their feet. This was a massive undertaking, requiring a complete overhaul of the childcare benefits system. The government pledged to dismantle the flawed algorithm, introduce stronger safeguards against discrimination, and ensure that human oversight played a central role in the decision-making process. However, navigating the complexities of the compensation scheme proved to be a challenge in itself. Families already traumatized by their experiences faced lengthy waiting times, bureaucratic hurdles, and a lack of clear information. The process, intended to provide relief, often added to their frustration and anxiety. Rebuilding trust. Can the government atone? The Dutch childcare benefits scandal wasn't just a political crisis, it was a crisis of trust. The government, once seen as a reliable provider of social welfare, had morphed into a source of fear and insecurity for thousands of its citizens. Rebuilding that shattered trust became paramount. The government embarked on a multifaceted approach to regain public confidence. They established an independent commission tasked with investigating the scandal in detail, identifying systemic failures, and recommending concrete measures to prevent similar situations from occurring in the future. Transparency was key. The commission's findings were made public, and the government committed to implementing its recommendations. Furthermore, the government recognized the need to address the underlying issue of institutional bias. They launched initiatives to promote diversity and inclusion within government agencies, particularly within the tax office. Training programs were implemented to raise awareness about unconscious bias and promote culturally sensitive practices. However, rebuilding trust is a gradual process, and skepticism lingered among many affected families. Some viewed the government's efforts as too little, too late. Others felt that the compensation scheme, while a step in the right direction, didn't fully address the long-term consequences of the scandal, such as the psychological trauma and economic hardship endured by families. Scars that remain. The long shadow of trauma. The Dutch government took steps to address the scandal, but the scars ran deep. Financial compensation couldn't erase years of stress and fear. Many parents struggled with psychological fallout. The constant fear of the tax office, the humiliation of being wrongly accused, and the strain on relationships took a heavy toll. Some suffered from PTSD, anxiety, and depression. The scandal also impacted children, causing emotional distress. The trauma cast a long shadow over their lives. Lessons from a broken system, the price of blind trust. The Dutch childcare benefits scandal is a stark warning, etched in the lives of thousands of innocent families. It reveals the devastating consequences of unchecked power and algorithmic bias. The scandal exposed a blind faith in technology, showing how algorithms can amplify societal biases. It underscored the need for robust oversight and accountability within government institutions. The government's reluctance to acknowledge the problem fueled public outrage. When systems designed to help become tools of punishment, it erodes public trust and leaves lasting scars. The fight continues towards a more just future. The Dutch childcare benefits scandal exposed deep flaws but sparked a movement for change. Affected families found their voices, demanding accountability and justice. Their courage forced the government to confront its mistakes and take steps towards reform. The fight is far from over. The road to recovery is long and arduous. Many families still grapple with trauma and financial instability. Comprehensive support is crucial for rebuilding lives. The scandal ignited a conversation about responsible technology use in government. The push for algorithmic transparency and safeguards against bias has gained momentum. The scandal serves as a catalyst for positive change globally. The fight for a just future requires vigilance and accountability. It's a powerful call to action for systems prioritizing empathy and fairness. The path forward requires learning from past mistakes and working together for a better future.